Okay, good day. Okay, so here again, we will be learning today about the confidence interval for mean using the t-statistic. Okay, so again, this is our reference book, the Statistics for Business Economics, Global Edition, 14th edition. Okay, so from our past videos, we discussed about the Z. Okay, so on how do we compute for the confidence interval for Z. Anything that is more than 30 samples. Okay, so if any sample that is less than 30, okay, less than 30, we will use the t-statistics. Okay, so it's the same, it's just that in t-statistics you will be using the standard deviation in the absence of the population standard deviation. Okay, and you will be using the t-statistic t-value, not the z-value. So that's the main difference. Okay, so now, okay, so we have here a sample about how to compute that one. Okay, so we will be estimating a small sample using t-statistic, and the standard deviation is unknown. Then, for example, we have 7 samples. No? Okay, and by the way, the t-distribution has an n minus 1 degrees of freedom. Okay, so we will explain that later. Okay, so for this one, okay, so for degrees of freedom here, for 7 minus 1 is 6, so it's 2.447. This is wrong. 2.447. Okay, so the degrees of freedom here, we will be using, this is a t values. Okay, so for example, here we have an n samples of 7, so 7 minus 1 degrees of freedom. Okay, so it's now 6. So the 6 value for the 95% confidence is 2.447, right? So that's how we use that. And also we have here a sample of the differentiation of normal C distribution versus T distribution. You can see here they have the same mound shape, no? And the normal distribution has a more narrower mound distribution. Okay, that means that most of the time the sample size here are most of the total population or the samples that are collected are majority are here. We compare it for the distribution. Okay, the the distribution is just small. Okay, it's more staggered. Okay, because it's just around 20, 30 samples or less. Okay, so anything that is 30 samples or less, we will use the t values or the uh, t values here. Okay, and we will always use the degrees of freedom. Okay, the degrees of freedom will be you will subtract the total samples in the degrees of freedom. For example, here, since we are dealing with one population, okay, specific population, the degrees of freedom is 1. Okay, and the n is 7. Okay, so in the sample here, we have here the mean. Okay, and in this example, the sample mean is 3.23. Okay, and we already have discussed this one, and the sample standard deviation is 0.95. Okay, now how do we find out the how do we estimate the mean of the small sample? Okay, how do we estimate the sample population mean through this small sample using p-value? Okay, so what we will do is first we need to get the standard the 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 confidence interval. Okay, then you multiply it by the the sample mean. Now it's the sample standard deviation over the square root of the population, right? So the confidence interval is 0.87. So we have to get us to decimals only. So now we will get the from and the to. So the the standard deviation from and to is, this is the sample mean, right? So from, then this one. Okay. So we can conclude now that the confidence interval is 2.35 to 4.11. That 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 on that range, the possible range with a 95% confidence level, the population mean will be around 2.35 to 4.11. Right? So we can also use other confidence level. So for example here, the uh, the it's just let's copy this one first. Okay. So this is for 95%. We transpose this one. 95%. Okay. So from and then to. Okay, we will just provide two samples only. So for here, let's say we have here 2.47 plus 1 is 6 degrees of freedom. For example, we will be using the this is around if t is equals to 10, then the sample standard deviation here is this is not 95%. This is around 98%. Let's check. 0.01 times 2. This is 0.02, so this is 98%. Okay, for 98% confidence level. Okay, so this is, we will arrive at this one. So 6, that is 3.132. So we'll just have to change this one. 3.132. Okay, 3.132. Okay, so now the values have changed. Okay, it becomes 2.11 to 4.35. Okay, so on the interval side, okay, the 95%, the higher the confidence level, the higher the, the interval. Okay, and also we also have discussed this one in the past activities, right? So that is the difference. This is for the 98% confidence level. Okay, it's around 2.10 to 4.35. Okay, and for 95%, 2.35 to 4.10. Okay, and the higher the higher the higher the amount, the higher the 95% interval, the narrower it is. I mean, the higher, the more wider the range is. For example, this one, for 95%, the range is from 1.76 from and 2. And for 98%, it's 2.25. Okay, so I think that's it. And I hope you learned from me today. Okay, thank you.